Peace, peace, peace. Got one here today. Realize we're a little bit late and all that. But I actually have a good excuse today. I was having a back and forth with my daughters. These young ladies, man, since they went into college, you can't tell them nothing. The youngest daughter been there for a month and a half. Can't tell her nothing. But today, we're going to go in a little something. You see we got a little excerpt here to check out. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be hitting a couple of a couple of little things. We're just gonna get things straight, but look, we're gonna experiment a little. So that, they got the polls and the surveys and all that. We're gonna be taking some surveys, right? We're gonna be doing a little story time. And we're gonna play this game right here. Who's the real troublemaker? Felix Almanzar, the Fifth Element Hip Hop Show. It's been a little minute. I don't know if we should wait. For a few more people from the What Did I Miss crew. That's because, we getting on kind of late. But we should have some West Coast, some people from the, you know how we do. But what's the deal? What's going on out there? Yo, Felix Almanzar, you know what? I was talking with somebody about what's the deal with Little Kim in Born. Looks like people's going to be late coming in, so they're just going to have to. It looks like they might have to catch it a little bit after over here. Hold on, let me see. Because I did tell some people that I was going to send them a link. I get to it later. But at any rate, what we got over here, right on the screen with us, is shout out to the guy I Supreme. Ron Brown LMT is his handle right there, and he has a channel, NYP Talk. If you're not joined on over there, you might want to go over there and check out some videos and see if you want to subscribe to that channel over there. You know what I'm saying? But in the meantime, this little excerpt is where we're gonna start off. Right? Let's not wait too long. Right? We're just gonna have to have some people on the What Did I Miss crew. So here we go.
I'll go to this now. I had to save your question for last. Okay, now you ready? All right. Now, what's your thoughts on the history between both the MST of A and the Nation of Islam in regards to the nation and their dealings with the conflict with both schools of thought? Because right now there's like a strong push to keep Allah's teachings pure, right? There's a strong push to keep Allah's teachings pure. And over the years, probably before we were born or when we were really young, we had Moors go around the 5% nation. We had the NOI had minor run-ins with the with Allah's 5%. What do you know about that, and what are your thoughts? I'll go.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Can I answer this? Can I answer this one? Now, first of all, shout out to the guy. He did a decent job right there, right? In the way that he framed it, by framing it, right? The way he framed it, what I mean is like, if you take a picture, right, with your phone, and then it might be certain things off to the left or off to the right or whatever, right? And you 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 crop the picture so that it looks how you want it to look, right? It's so if people looking at what you want them to look at, right, then it adjusts what they're going to end up seeing, the understanding that a person will end up coming to. You know what I'm saying? Uh, there's a couple of things in there though, right? There's a couple of things in the framing, right? There's a couple of things in the framing. Look, there's no conflict between us and the moral science. The MST of A, there's no conflict between us and the NOI. See, that's the see. This is what I'm saying. See, now look, we this is how we gonna do it, right? It's gonna be several times, right, throughout this live stream where I'm gonna be asking the question, who's the real troublemaker? So see, this is what I'm saying. When these things is framed, right, as a problem between us, right, and anybody. Because he did say one key thing there, right? In the midst of him speaking, he said, people that come around the 5%. You know, and so, you know, when the question was asked, right, the brother, he gave his answer, right? That's he gave his answer. I'm giving my answer, right? You know, there was another thing there, right? When he said, right, bow. It's funny, uh, Chocolat, what is this? Chocolat, dopest man alive. As I was just getting ready to come up with that, I was just getting ready to say that, right? Is it was said that there's a strong push to keep the Allah's teachings pure. Look, when I got this, right, You know, when I got the lessons, everything. Listen, that's the way it was given to. This is not this is not a recent push. And when you get something and somebody tells you, listen, you need to learn this word for word, verbatim. You say you so you was taught by your cousin. So did I teach your cousin? Who's your cousin? Yeah, this is one of the dopest parts, I think, of this channel. You know, uh, how many people I came in tune with like this right here. But yeah, getting back to my point, nah, it's not a recent push. It's that, in fact, you know, we have we have our own history that we've been writing since 1964, right? And we respect Obiala from New Jersey. That's peace. Here, tell the God I said peace. I had talked to him since since I got this live stream. I think he came on a couple times. There's another brother too that comes on Divine that he took. But you know, that's you know, that was a little bit peculiar. But here was the thing though, right? And like I said, we're not gonna go deep into the to the other brother's answer. Really, when this question was asked, right, it was a panel, and I crapped everybody else out because, you know, they ain't got nothing to do with it, right? But it was a panel, right, where there was one of our 5% brothers, there was uh, uh, the NOY brother, and there was MST of A brother, right? And so, uh, you know, even though, like I said, one thing about the way he framed it, right? He said, you know, stuff that probably happened before he was born, right? But oddly, when the answer came, it came about uh, that we don't teach that situation. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, look, let's clear it up, right? And we're gonna do a little story time, right? So that maybe that's what happened. Maybe if we clear this up, then people can see that there was no conflict whatsoever with the MST of A, right? We don't seek to adjust what they teach, right? In fact, if you go in a law school, there's a picture of Noble Drew Ali. And there's a little, like, you know, like say if you was a young person and you was coming in, first of all, it's a whole war. You know, Booker T. Washington, Martin Luther King, Sojourner Truth, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Then over here, it's like a little paragraph, right, where you can read who the different people are. It's a little paragraph right there about Noble Drew Ali. I bet you a lot of people ain't know that. That's asking that kind of question. You know, next time we down there, I'm gonna be sure to show y'all that on the on the video, right? But now we're gonna do a little story time, right? So I'm relaxed. I'm maxing and relaxing, right? See the guy, right? He's handing me his phone and he's like, uh, you know, you gotta see this. So my first thought is, look, whoever contacted you, right? If they ain't got my number, that's on purpose. You know, like just that. First of all, the way you said it, right? It didn't sound like it was something good. So it was like, yeah, nah, I'm good. So he says, nah, that's it's not on my it's not on my phone. It's on Facebook. So now really that's strike two because uh, you know early in the time of Facebook, I didn't understand trolling. I didn't know what that was. Right. So a couple of situations happened where I was like, yo, you know what? This is not for me. So, I'm not on Facebook. So it's the same like, God, look, I don't, at this point, I'm already looking at, whatever's on Facebook is trouble anyway. I don't even want to see Facebook. Right. But then he says it, with that voice, right? Like, nah, God, you got to see this. So, all right, I checked it out, right? It's a video on YouTube. I press play, right? And uh, this scene is the back of a large school where the refrigerator in the bathroom is all that. That's the scenery, and there's a whole bunch of people sitting there. So the person holding the camera says to the first person, "What's your nationality?" They say Moorish American. Right? That's it's a little, but at first, so you ask the next person, what's your nationality? Moorish American. Next person is like, it's like four, five, six people, right? That he says, what's your nationality? They all say Moorish American. So then he comes to this woman, right? He asks her, what's your nationality? She says Moorish American. Then he says, yeah, and this sister is mad real, and I know she's mad real because she didn't pass the burner off to me, you know what I'm saying, and situations. You know what I mean? She like that. All right, now this is, whoa, what's these people, right? See, then he says to this next brother, right? What's your what's your nationality? Brother says Moorish American, right? And then he says, that's right. You know what I'm saying? The brother with the camera, he's like, yeah, that's right. We the gods. I mean, no, we the Moors. We up here in the law school every Tuesday. We doing it like this, and this is how we do. You know what I'm saying? And then the last brother that he had asked, the last brother that he had asked, what's your nationality, right? He chimes in with, yeah, that's right. And whoever don't like it, I got 100 rules that'll come through screaming, holy, holy, holy. He made that movement, right? So the people that you saw there, right? is because they designated the time and the place right there. Like this kind of talking, right? This kind of talking, we don't do that. This is, wait a minute. Now I'm about to ask the question. I'm about to ask the question, right? Who's the real troublemaker? But I got something to add on first, right? Got something to add on first. Now we have the universal rallies, right? The universal parliaments and the universal rallies, right? Universal parliaments in Mecca, universal rallies in Medina, right? But during the month, there's other rallies in the boroughs, right? So during this same time, right, there was there was uh, there was the rallies going on in the desert over there at the African Poetry Theater. When other brothers saw the video, right? When other brothers saw the video of them in the back of the school saying what they said, right? Brothers that went to the desert rally said, wait a minute. The brother that's asking everybody what's your nationality was coming to the rallies in the desert. And when he was coming to the rallies in the desert, right, at some point, he was seen giving out MST of A literature to the babies at the rally. And so at that point, brothers told him, listen, you're welcome to come, everything is peace, you can partake with us. But look, this is, we doing what we doing. That you can't, you gotta go out and teach on your own. You can't teach that here. You know what I'm saying? And so, they let them know where the line is. On this side of the line, right, it's respect. On that side of the line, you see it as disrespect. And that's the real. It was nothing about what the moral science teach. Now look, we're about to delve back in. Remember, we had a whole video where I demonstrated what was being taught there. That look, I don't know that to be our teaching. I don't know that to be our teachings, right? But check this out. Give me a second here. Now this is not my forte, right? These videos here, right? But look, I have uh, I have some other, because there's some more recent science. Some more recent science that I heard about the show and proof, right? And it was kind of the same mentality, the same framing, right? That, you know, the situation at the show and proof was about more science. right? And somehow we just had a dislike, right? Or the people that was involved with that, right, had a dislike of Morris, right? So I just want to demonstrate, right? I wanna show something here, right? I wanna show something here, right? We're gonna go back. Let's let's get this back.
And an autonomous nation state for all Aboriginal melanated people.
All right. So the situation at the show improved. Let's clarify some things. You know, we're gonna move ahead. We're gonna move ahead in this. Right? We're gonna pass, you know, because we've already seen all this, right? Remember we seen all this right here? What I told you, all this prostration stuff, right? I don't know this to be our teachings. So yeah, about here, I think is where we want to be, right? About here is where we want to be. All right, now the situation at the show improved. The brother with the black shirt and the black hat. I'm gonna ask the question at the beginning. Who's the real troublemaker? The brother in the black hat, right, was the brother in the situation. Right? Now we're gonna proceed with this, right? So that I can demonstrate, right? Because at least if somebody else knows something, let me know. See, that first situation was about disrespect. It was about disrespect. And then other things got caught up in the mix. But we're gonna let this proceed because there's some important points here.
We're going to ask the great God, Lord Messiah, to add on as we have our ceremonial flag raising in the newest jurisdiction of the universal nation of original people. So to the God, Lord.
Now look, keep that jurisdiction. You heard that word? Keep that in mind.
Lord Messiah.
Peace. Just want to say peace to the universal family out there. You know, we here today declaring our jurisdiction over this land here, in which we are originally, you know, autonomous to the land, or rather I say autochthon to the land. We are indigenous to the land of this whole planet Earth, as we know we are original people. Thus, as the original nation, you know, or as a universal nation of original people, we declare this land and we make our claim. We infuse our energies and our powers and our abundance into the land, and we just here to show and prove that, you know, Allah is God, always has been, always will be. And we're going to stake this land. We're going to make our declaration here. And it's so important about jurisdiction, especially in this day and time, because we need a land that we can cultivate. We need a place that we can call our own. We need a place that we can say, okay, this is where we're going to develop our civilization, our, you know, our new birth. You know, as the God just mentioned, you know, today actually is the day of the new year, the actual new year, according to nature, not according to the Gregorian calendar, you know, which we're actually lost in time. So we know and understand that we are in the right state of mind, in the right state and time, and we here to just, make everything divine. And on that note, I say peace, and we're gonna carry on with our ceremony and, just show and prove.
Peace. Let's go. Here we go.
All right, now, pretty much most of the rest of what they saying here, we're gonna just let that there go down in the background, right? Let me come back up here, right? So check this out. The moral of the story here is they got kicked off this land. This flag, what they was putting up, talking about they indigenous to the land and all of this claim and jurisdiction, right? The Caucasian that owned this property came and took all that down. Told him, get off my property. Right? That's the moral of the story with that right there. They got kicked off of that property. Right? Now, look, rather you agree, right? Look, they got kicked off the land. Let me, because here I'm getting ahead of myself. They got kicked off the land, right? Now, whatever happened, right? One mastermind, he did his thing. Shout out to him, right? Peace and prosperity to him, right? In all his overtakings, right? But the other brother comes back. Now, see, I don't know how many of y'all knew about the whole science of everything what I've laid out in both of these videos where I've dealt with this, right? But we know what happened, right? We know what happened. Okay, so y'all got kicked off to the land, right? And he comes back. So now I'm gonna ask the question again. Who's the real troublemaker? Whether you agree with how Born Mastermind was dealt with or not, you did, all right, we seen all that failed, and now you come back, right? Now here's the thing. If you go to watch the rallies, you will see him going in front of the rally and talking this same stuff. He's going in front of the rally talking this same spiel that we already know failed. You ain't saying nothing about, well, it failed last time because of this reason or that reason. It's going to work this time because of this reason and the other reason. This none of that. So he comes back, right? And he's saying this, right? And I mean, like I said, check it for yourself. It's documented, right? For months on end, right? Probably, years. He gets up, he's talking the same jurisdiction stuff, and everybody's saying, look, God, that's not the route that we going. And you clearing out the rally, you going up in front of the parliament and speaking and clearing out the whole parliament because nobody wants to hear this. Like we already told you. Like, we've heard you out. Like, even with this knowledge, you can't beat people in the head. If you tell people something right and you told them the truth, you said what you were supposed to say. Now, sometimes you gotta give that a chance to sink in. See, the water has to be balanced. Like, even when you drinking water, like, yeah, water is a necessity, but yeah, there is such a thing as too much water. When you dilute all of the salts and the electrolytes and everything in your system. And so a lot of people probably think that the stuff that I just said is the reason why the situation occurred. But guess what? That's not the reason the situation occurred. That's the reason nobody, that's the reason it wasn't important to a lot of people that it was a situation. The real situation happened, right? Because in the midst, like, as people is not accepting what you're saying, right? As people is not accepting what he's saying, right? Instead of him, like I said, giving it a chance to digest, maybe drawing it up in a different way or something, you know, picking a smaller group of brothers that might be like-minded, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, what he did was oftentimes become belligerent. With, like, yeah, everybody who doesn't want to do this plan that failed with you is ignorant. You know what I'm saying? And here's the kicker, right? Because I'm saying I asked him myself, right? I was like, look, if the stuff you saying is true, there was an empty lot across the street from where we were staying. I said, if what you saying is true, then let's use that science to take over that lot right there and build all the stuff you saying. And then once we provide that example, right, what choice is the nation going to have? But now, for whatever reason, he was dead set on his next experiment being with the property of the law school. Now I'm just saying, Don Bishop, you a homeowner. you, you a homeowner. What you think? What you think? As a homeowner, would you try this failed plan? Would you try this failed plan with your property? So, like I said, all those things is really just background, just to say what was the issue with. And then because see, this is what I'm saying. You know, this woman passed the burner off to me in street situations, I don't know that to be moral science. If there's somebody on here, right, that deal with moral science, right, and that's moral science, put it in the comments. Type that in the box right here. Say, yeah, God, that's moral science. That's in it. That's in the clock of destiny. You got 100 sharubs to come through screaming. I don't know that to be moral science. You know, you going to claim other people's property, you know, based on some, you know, astro jurisdiction or whatever. I don't know that to be moral science. Yes, this is right down, Bishop. Gambling with failed determined ideas. Ideas that's already been born dead. But we still ain't get to the real deal. See, in the mix, right, of the different talk and uh, people trying to, you know, get through to them that, you know, look, God, we got the, you know, we got the science that we're going to use to do this. You know, and it's not that jurisdiction stuff. You know, people is, but then look, he said something where he insulted a brother personally. That he said something where it was like, whew. You know, like somebody say something, you just be like, oh man, it's, you know, you just, you know, you better be ready. Like you just said that to that person. Yeah. It was that type of stuff that look, if you want to say that, right, then you gotta you might have to back up. You know, especially look what he said and the person that he said it to. But guess what? That's still not even what happened. See, this is what I'm saying. See, people hear one thing, right? And they think, oh, nah. This is what I'm telling y'all. See, this is why I just need to clear it up because see, people keep certain names. You keep certain names, you know, like oh, you know that had all this person. They like, but you ain't. I thought we put things on the scale. I thought we weigh and judge all the facts and circumstances. So now we get to the show and proof, right? The brother that he insulted, right, during the show and proof, he runs a children's program. Like there's a whole segment of the day, like for the early part of the day, like until maybe 5, 6 o'clock, you don't see no kids at the show and prove because they all participating with his program. Got, you know, whatever games, you know, things, you know, giving out books, drawing, all type of stuff, whatever. Right? Now that's the part that I don't know, right? But the brother who did the insulting, he ends up in the area, right, with the brother who he insulted, right? But the brother's doing his thing with the baby. And so he tells the brother, yo, look, man, go ahead. Right now, look, we just doing with the baby. You can't be back here. You know, they running what they running. I don't know, but the the brother who did the insulting charged at the brother that he insulted. And now that's what happened. So, you know, to get back to bring it back full circle, right? Some of y'all probably just came in, right? And this is where we started. Let's go back to where we started, right?
I had to save your question for last. Okay. Now, you ready? All right. Now, what's your thoughts on the history between both the MST of A and the Nation of Islam in regards to the nation and their dealings with the conflict with both schools of thought? Because right now there's like a strong push to keep Allah's teachings pure, right? There's a strong push to keep Allah's teachings pure. And over the years, probably before we were born or when we were really young, we had Moors go around the 5% nation. We had the NOI had minor run-ins with the with Allah's 5%. What do you know about that, and what are your thoughts? I'll go to this.
And so, a little bit of what we had right there was uh, my thoughts. That in fact there hasn't been no run-ins with this been and like I said, what those brothers was doing, right? I don't know none of that to be more science. I know individuals, right, who's affiliated with more science, right, that talk about that jurisdiction stuff. But it wasn't even, look, on the merit of what he was saying, you've already failed. And you didn't show anybody, right, where you had, uh, did some self-analysis or whatever, right, and honed your understanding to a greater degree where you think now you're going to be successful. And that's what really happened. I don't know, do we need to go do we need to go any uh do we need to go any further in look, and I want y'all look when y'all hear about these situations, you see that's what because look, here's the thing. The first situation, that's like over 10 years ago. So I don't even know, I don't even recall when that happened. But look, from now on, man, look, you heard it here first. You heard it here first. Tell people, look, they can get their shovels out, right, and let it work in reverse now, right? They can dig some people out of the grave. Maybe the next time, right? You know, this question, right, is won't even be asked. Because for my own self, I can tell you this. You know, I can keep this knowledge pure without any interaction with MSTFA. Like I don't need MSTFA to not exist. So I can keep this pure. I don't need them to bow down. I don't need them to nothing except beat up. See, here's the bottom line. See, we gotta have unity in action. See, the bottom line, whoever you want to accept, right? If you want to accept Fard Elijah, if you want to accept Noble Drew Ali, you want to accept Allah, you want to accept Malcolm X, whoever it is, right? At this point, we all know what we're supposed to do. All these steps and stages, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Look, at this point, we all know what we're supposed to do. Like I said, in terms of like I said, is we all have our unique things that we teach. We have our unique aspects of our culture, right? And uh, in terms of me, right, I don't want to, and I'm not going to, and I don't need to change anything, right, about my knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right, in order to have unity with some other people. See, the real deal is not we never gonna unify, right? In that I'm gonna trade in 120 for Black's Law. But see, in terms of uh, we in the same world. We in the same neighborhood. So like I said, if there's something that's going on, right? Uh, let's say a Moorish brother, right, came up with an idea how we could get some boots, right? Some boots for kids to give out for the winter, right? Suppose a Morris brother came up with a plan like that, and he was like, "Yo, y'all need some help with that." See, we could unify and just do that. And you ain't got to tell me nothing about Black's Law. I ain't gonna tell you nothing about Supreme Alphabet. See, we can speak in the language of this cipher right here that we dealing with, right? Whatever's we require, whatever's our part that everybody gotta play, but necessarily that, we gotta be switching flags and all of that and all. No. Why do we have to do that? See, like I said, in all reality, look, don't try to convert me. Whatever, you know, you do what you do, right? And that sets an example and a standard. Right? And there's certain people that, admire, admire those accomplishments, you know what I'm saying, and respect those standards to the point where they want to internalize that for themselves. User do 7. Welcome to the channel. You came in right at the You came in right at the we about to open it up for questions. Because we don't need to beat that dead horse. But no one is half the battle. And now everybody knows. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we can move on. We can move on. Uh the floor is open for questions. Hold on, let me put the link in there. Is it? Is Jay? Oh yeah. I don't know what happened, son. They took your channel. You just user do 7 now. Is that it? Everybody out there is asleep. Everybody's at work today. So tell me what's gonna happen. It's gonna come a day when I'm gonna shut it down, and then that's when there's gonna be 10,000 questions. And I already told y'all this is a warning. When I'm done, it's done. I'm taking it all down. That should already certain jump offs that's past a certain time. Like, see how you gotta see videos that be 10, 15 years old on YouTube? No. You had to be there, you know what I'm saying? And the people that was there, they gotta do their thing. That's it. Look, well, we on tomorrow anyway. You know what I mean? Maybe we'll get a little bit more life in the room. But, in the meantime, in between time, this is a pretty good place right here to, end this while everything has been made clear. And I'm going to sign off and say peace, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.